Behind the Line Extra for your Saturday, January 11th, 2020. I'm your host, KC. Follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Hit the like and subscribe button on YouTube. Leave a 5-star rating on iTunes. I appreciate all the support. The national championship game is Monday night in New Orleans. Clemson taking on LSU. Probably the best matchup that college football could have given us this season. I'm actually excited about this game. We've got two future NFL quarterbacks going head-to-head. Actually, the two best quarterbacks in the country right now. Could be the beginning of a rivalry between these two guys once they reach the NFL level. I like LSU big in this game. When the point spread was released shortly after that Ohio State-Clemson game a couple of weeks ago, I jumped all over it. The line opened at LSU minus 3.5. And I thought that was a gift from the sports books. Apparently, so did a lot of other people because the lines jumped all the way up to LSU minus 6. Dabo Swinney has been eating this situation up for the past 2 weeks. No one respects us. We're once again the underdogs. Once again, I understand what Dabo Swinney's trying to do, trying to get his team to play with a chip on their shoulders. Pump them up with the fact that the entire country is, quote, disrespecting Clemson. The only disrespect Clemson's been given all season was about their weak-ass schedule. That's it. Clemson's won 2 of the past 3 national championships. They're in the middle of a dynasty. It's hard to gauge how great the 2019 team is because they really haven't played anyone all season. They weren't tested until their playoff game against Ohio State, a game that the Buckeyes should have won. They gave that game away, and Trevor Lawrence just completely took over in the second half. I like Dabo Swinney. Think he's an excellent coach. Clemson was a joke before he arrived, and he's turned them into a national powerhouse. It can be argued that he's taken over the best coach in college football label away from Nick Saban. But I get tired of all the whining. I get tired of all the talk about Clemson being disrespected. No one is disrespecting their legacy, their dynasty. We're disrespecting the schedule. Bottom line is, Clemson doesn't belong in this game. When you play a schedule full of unranked teams, full of bullshit cupcake games, you shouldn't be rewarded with a berth in the playoffs. It's not just Clemson. I've called Nick Saban and Alabama out about this very same thing. Fans of both schools will try to defend it. But there's no defending the schedules of Alabama and Clemson this season. Look no further than what Dabo Swinney said after his team beat South Carolina, another shitty team on their schedule, to get a glimpse into his mindset. He said their win against South Carolina, it's huge from a national standpoint because obviously if we lose this game, they're going to kick us out. They don't want us in there anyway. We dropped to 20. Georgia loses to this very same team, and the very next day it's, how do we keep Georgia in it? We win to North Carolina that beat South Carolina, and it's, how do we get Clemson out? It's the dadgummest thing. So it's big, they can't vote us out. We got to go 30-0. We ain't got no choice because we don't play nobody. So he's bragging about beating North Carolina, a game that they struggled in, a team that ended the season 7-6. Bragging about beating a 4-8 South Carolina team, calling that a huge win. Of course, if you lose either of those games, you're out of the championship picture. You had 0 ranked wins all year. Throwing Georgia under the bus is irrelevant. They could afford 1 loss. They beat ranked Notre Dame. They beat ranked Florida. They beat ranked Auburn on the road. They had a decent resume. The last portion of what he said is 100% truth. We got to go 30-0 because we don't play nobody. That's exactly right. Even at 30-0, you still wouldn't belong because the 30 wins would be meaningless. If you beat 30 teams that aren't close to your talent level, then who are you really beating? When you think of dominant teams in college football, dynasties, they never act like underdogs. When's the last time you heard Nick Saban whine about Alabama being disrespected, pretending that his team is an underdog? They carry themselves with a swagger that nobody can beat them. The only way they can lose is they beat themselves. It was the same with Nebraska in the mid-90s. The same with Bobby Bowden in Florida State. There's never been a dynasty in college football portray themselves like Dabo Swinney portrays his Clemson Tigers. It'd be a shame if we look back in 20 years and instead of thinking about what Dabo Swinney has built in a program that isn't even the premier school in his own state, that all we remember is the constant whining from their head coach. And let's just be perfectly honest. It doesn't matter who they match up with LSU this year in the national championship. The title belongs to them. It could have been Ohio State, doesn't matter. LSU has proven all season that they are unstoppable. There hasn't been a defense yet to stop Joe Burrow. He's beaten two of the best defenses in the country, Auburn and Georgia. Beat Georgia handedly. Even at -6, I like LSU to cover. All right, let's move on to the NFL. Over the past week or two, I've taken time to talk about the coaching hires in the NFL. Spoke briefly about the Giants. Talked in depth yesterday about Cleveland's coaching search. Spoke highly about Jerry Jones and the Cowboys hiring Mike McCarthy. One team I haven't really discussed is the Carolina Panthers and their decision to hire Baylor coach Matt Rhule. There's a reason for that. I wanted to see what Matt Rhule was going to say about Cam Newton. Newton's future in Carolina is uncertain. He's been riddled by injuries the past couple of years. He hasn't really had a good season since their Super Bowl run back in 2015. So naturally, the first question asked of Matt Rhule during his introductory press conference the other day was about Cam Newton. And I thought he was non-committal. Mentioned that he had spoken with Cam, gave the coach speak about how he respected him and what he's done, wanted to speak with the rest of the roster before making a decision, blah, blah, blah. That told me all I needed to know. It seems to me that Cam Newton is finished in Carolina. Think about it. If Russell Wilson was the quarterback in Carolina, or Aaron Rodgers, even a guy like Ryan Tannehill, do you think Matt Rhule would be non-committal about his quarterback? No. He would be the rah-rah guy, pumping up the fan base headed into next season. Matt Rhule is a new head coach in the NFL. This isn't like hiring Mike McCarthy in Dallas, someone with extensive experience coaching at this level. The last thing you want for a rookie head coach is turbulence entering his first season. If Carolina were to keep Cam Newton around, all Matt Rhule will be getting is questions about him the entire offseason and headed into next season. Cam would also hit the cap for about $19 million next season unless they release or trade him, which is really a bargain when compared to other quarterback salaries in the league, but not worth it if he can't return to 2015 Cam, which hasn't happened. Carolina's got the number 7 pick in the draft, but could easily move up. It wouldn't take much. The 6 teams in front of them are the Bungles, Washington, Detroit, Giants, Dolphins, and Chargers. The Redskins just drafted Dwayne Haskins. The Lions have Matt Stafford. Giants have Daniel Jones. Chargers are expected to go after one of the free agent quarterbacks. Could go after Tom Brady. That's 4 of the 6 teams in front of Carolina that aren't in need of a quarterback. Carolina could draft and pay a rookie quarterback less money than Cam, and it's also a more ideal situation for their rookie head coach. Your offensive-minded head coach could develop the rookie quarterback of his choice. Cam Newton has proven time and time again he's not a team player. He's a selfish guy. It's all about him. Bottom line is, Cam Newton hasn't been the same since his 2015 MVP season that ended in a Super Bowl loss. He struggled with foot and shoulder injuries. He's lost his last 8 starts. Sometimes in life, it's just time to move on and get a fresh start. I think that holds true for both Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers. All right, let's get to the NBA for a second before we get to our divisional round picks for the playoffs this weekend. Russell Westbrook made his big return to Oklahoma City Thursday night. And true to form, it went exactly how I expected it to go. The fans in Oklahoma City welcomed him back with open arms. The team gave him a nice video tribute. I thought the Thunder, as an organization, handled it with class. I can't say the same about Russell Westbrook. It's not that he did anything blatantly disrespectful, but the way he carried himself kind of rubbed me the wrong way. There's a right and a wrong way to handle situations like this. I thought Russell Westbrook handled it the wrong way. He made the entire night about himself. It was like one big ego trip. Coming into the arena, he wore a shirt that said 0 regrets and outlined all of his accomplishments in Oklahoma City. His shoes were covered with his stats. I have no problem with him leaving Oklahoma City. It was time. He had accomplished all he could accomplish. But the way he returned left a lot to be desired. And true to Russell Westbrook form, the ego trip extended into the game. He took more shots than any other player on the court. Scored 34 points on 26 shots, 1 of 6 from the three-point line. It was typical Westbrook. Take over the game and make it all about himself. And the result was also typical Westbrook. The Rockets were blown out. Houston's a playoff team, but I think they had the same problem that they had with Chris Paul. You've got 2 guards that are ball dominant. They need the ball to be effective. Actually, I think this team is a tad bit worse in some regards with Westbrook because he can't shoot the 3. Russell Westbrook is one of the best pure athletes to ever play in the NBA. His burst, his speed, they're unmatched. The problem is, at 31 years old, how much longer can he be effective with the style of play that he has? His offensive game has always been geared on his athleticism. He's always been a poor shooter, and it hasn't improved after over a decade in the NBA. Once age catches up and his athletic ability, his speed and burst are gone, what's he going to be left with? Kevin Durant couldn't allow Russell Westbrook to get all the shine Thursday night. God forbid he let someone else have the spotlight. Kevin Durant's one of those people that need to stay off of social media. A guy who used to have a pristine reputation in the NBA, as far as public perception of him is concerned, has turned into the league's biggest villain. What happened to the humble guy that was in tears when he won his first league MVP award? Kevin Durant apparently took offense because Kendrick Perkins said Russell Westbrook is the best player to ever put on a Thunder uniform. KD pointed out the fact that Perkins averaged only 2 to 3 points during a 2013 playoff series against Memphis when he was with Oklahoma City. Ever since KD left the Thunder, he seems to be on a mission to be an asshole. I can't tell you how many times he makes the point that he's going to do what he wants to do and fuck everyone else. I think it bothers him that he went from one of America's favorite players to the enemy. When he left OKC for Golden State, I don't think he expected the backlash to be as severe as it is. The thing is, the backlash against him would have eventually calmed down, but he just couldn't keep his mouth shut. He went from humble to arrogant. There will always be an asterisk next to his NBA title. For a player of his caliber, you can't go to a 73-9 team, win a championship, and think there won't be an asterisk. A player like Kevin Durant is supposed to build his own championship team, not join one. All right, let's get to our NFL picks for the weekend. Had a good weekend last weekend, went 2-1-1. First game up, Vikings at Niners, current line San Francisco -7. Second week in a row, the Vikings enter a playoff game as heavy underdogs. 8-point dogs last week in New Orleans. Line in this game actually opened at 8. It's been bet down to 7. Earlier this week, I was leaning towards the Niners to cover. I didn't think Adam Thielen would be able to go, but he's listed as questionable. All signs are pointing to him starting for the Vikings in this game. A healthy Thielen and Dalvin Cook are the key to this game for Minnesota. We saw what happened late in the season when both were out. Kirk Cousins was god-awful. With both back in the lineup last week, the Saints defense couldn't contain either one of them. The 49ers have the best pass defense in the NFL, but the weakness of this defense is against the run. San Francisco ranks 17th in the league in rush yards allowed. I think Dalvin Cook will have a bigger game this week than he did last week at New Orleans. Should open up plenty of opportunities for Kirk Cousins in the play-action pass. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. 7 points is just too many to eat. The 49ers are actually a better road team than home team against the spread. They're 3-4-1 at home this season against the number. I like the Niners to win, Vikings to cover, taking Minnesota plus 7. Titans at Ravens, current line, Baltimore minus 10. Same situation as Vikings-Niners. Too many points to swallow in a playoff game. Tennessee grinds out the clock with Derrick Henry. They limit your possessions. They pound you up the middle and wear you down the entire game. And Derrick Henry is the classic old school NFL running back. He actually gets better as the game goes along. No one stopped Lamar Jackson all season. Ravens have the number 1 offense, number 3 defense. They can beat you in a variety of ways. This team averaged 33 points a game in the regular season. I don't see that happening today. Defenses ramp up in the playoffs. What's the one thing all 4 wildcard games had in common last weekend? They were all low-scoring games. Highest scoring game was Vikings-Saints, and they combined for only 40 points going into overtime. I think points will be at a premium here. I'm a bit concerned about the Titans, though. Coming off a highly emotional win against New England, Mike Vrabel defeats Bill Belichick, the guy that let him go 10 or so years ago. It's tough to match that intensity in back-to-back weeks. But this is just too many points. Ravens win, Titans cover, taking Tennessee plus 10. Texans at Chiefs, current line, Kansas City minus 9.5. Bill O'Brien and the Texans finally got the wild card monkey off their backs last week. Honestly, I think he would have been on the hot seat if they didn't pull that game out. Their chase for the Super Bowl ends tomorrow in Kansas City. I don't think the Texans won that game last week as much as the Bills lost it. After going up 16-0, Sean McDermott started coaching this game not to lose instead of coaching to win. Play calling got conservative. The pressure in the second half started to get to Josh Allen. That's not going to happen with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid's got a shitload of playoff experience, and Mahomes led this team to the AFC Championship game last year. Kansas City can score in a hurry at home. You blink, it's 14-0. And the Texans are too weak defensively to defend against this high-powered offense. 29th against the pass, 25th against the run. Outside of J.J. Watt, there isn't much else for the Texans on that side of the ball. The defense in Kansas City has vastly improved. Thought to be the weakness of this team, they've bounced back the last half of the season. Last 6 games, they're only giving up 11.5 points a game. I like the Chiefs big here. Think they handle Houston with ease, taking Kansas City minus 9.5. Last game, Seahawks at Packers, current line, Green Bay minus 4.5. Favorite play of the week. I've been saying all season, the Packers are the worst 13-3 team in the league. Inconsistent on defense. Aaron Rodgers has been inconsistent all season. I've been riding Russell Wilson all year, and I'm not stopping now. Marshawn Lynch has been a non-factor since arriving in Seattle. But Seattle's going to need him to step up tomorrow. The weather could be a factor. Green Bay is expected to get 6 to 10 inches of snow tonight. Seattle was one of the most undisciplined teams in the league early in the season, and they returned to form last week in Philadelphia. 11 penalties for 114 yards. I think that was a focus for Pete Carroll all week preparing for this game. Green Bay's been winning ugly all season. It's actually been a point of pride for them. You hear it acknowledged in post-game press conferences. However, winning ugly eventually catches up to you. Usually it happens in the playoffs. The Packers have looked like shit 3 of the last 4 games of the year. Ugly win against the Redskins. Ugly win against the Bears. Come from behind, ugly win at Detroit in Week 17. I'm getting the better head coach with Seattle, and I think I'm getting the better quarterback. This isn't prime Aaron Rodgers that we're talking about. Russell Wilson has carried this team on his shoulders all season, and he carries them to a win at Lambeau tomorrow. I like Seattle to win outright, but I'll take the free points, taking Seattle plus 4.5. All right, to recap, we're on the Vikings plus 7, Titans plus 10, Chiefs minus 9.5, Seahawks plus 4.5. All right, that's all for today. I'll be back Tuesday to recap the weekend. Hit the like and subscribe button on YouTube. Leave the 5-star rating on iTunes. Leave a comment in the section below with your NFL playoff picks. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Have a good weekend, and I will see you guys on Tuesday.